When the iPhone 13 was announced, just like most people, I looked at it and it was like, wow, this is pretty much the same exact phone as last year. But after a month of using iPhone 13, this is actually a really good upgrade. Let's jump into the review. At this point, we're used to Apple holding on to an iPhone design for multiple years. As consumers, we don't like this because we want something new every year. We want to see like our money being spent and not having to feel like we're having the same phone as last year. But from Apple's standpoint, this makes perfect business sense because with the same design over multiple years, you're increasing profitability of the iPhone. The iPhone hardware at this point is way further ahead and way more advanced than the software. The hardware itself is just being limited by iOS. Just like the M1 processor, the A15 Bionic processor in the iPhone 13 is super powerful and it's being really held back by iOS. The core of iOS is all about simplicity, and it was just made so it can target a much broader group, the younger and the older, less technical crowd. But I would like to think that the majority of iPhone users now are like a little more advanced than they were back then, and they want the ability to do things with the iPhone way more than iOS is providing right now. The A15 Bionic processor is years ahead of anything out right now. Not only is it powerful, it is really efficient. I am getting about 8 hours of screen on time every single day. Like, no matter how much I use my phone, the battery life on this thing is just incredible. Like with any other phone, I'll be happy to get 5 hours of screen on time, and that's good with me. I'm good, like no matter what. 8 hours. I take the thing off the charger at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I don't have to put it back on the charger until about 10 o'clock at night, and it just gets me through the day no matter how much I use the phone. But that improved battery life is just more than the actual processor. The iPhone 13 is a little bit thicker than the iPhone 12, allowed them to put a larger battery in here. Not that much larger, but large enough to whereas you're getting such way better battery life. Not only is the phone thicker itself, the camera housing now is like really huge. Not like it was small before, but now it's like ridiculously big. So if you were thinking about using your iPhone 12 cases with your iPhone 13, just forget about it because it's not gonna work. The extra thickness and this larger camera housing, your old cases are not gonna fit on here. If you have the T-Mobile version of the iPhone 13, you now have access to T-Mobile's new 5G, which is called 5G UC Ultra Capacity. I know this 5G stuff is confusing, especially if you're looking at T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. Everyone got their own way how to market 5G. But what you do need to know about this new 5G UC is it is super fast. I'm getting about 500 megabits down on a phone. I know several people that's not getting this kind of speeds on their home internet. To be able to get this type of speed on your phone, it's just crazy. Like this is the first device on T-Mobile that can take advantage of this new network, and it's a welcome addition to the iPhone 13. I personally didn't think there would be a lot of physical design changes with the iPhone 13, but one thing I did hope they was gonna bring was Touch ID. I really wanted them to bring Touch ID back. I didn't expect them to bring Touch ID on the display, the under display fingerprint readers, but I did expect them to put Touch ID on the power button, similar to how they did on the iPad Air and the iPad Mini. I just knew it was coming to iPhones this year, especially because we're still in this pandemic and we gotta wear these masks on our face, and Face ID does not work with those masks on. Even their solution with using their Apple Watch in conjunction with the iPhone to like make Face ID work, if you watch any reviews on that, if you tried it yourself, you know that does not work really well. So a simple fix would have been just to put Touch ID on the power button, and would have made everyone's life better, because I don't think these masks are going anywhere anytime soon. So to like help the world out, to make just a small change that would help a lot of people out, would have been just to add Touch ID to the power button. And you know what else would have been a lot better? Adding that Touch ID to the power button would have got rid of this ridiculous notch, because this notch is here. It is smaller, but it's still here and it's still ugly, and I'm still not used to it. The iPhone 13 has a larger sensor than iPhone 12. When I'm taking pictures using both phones, I don't see much of a difference between the pictures. So I don't think just the picture taking purposes alone is enough reason to upgrade. But whereas the big improvement comes is with the video. The video, I think, fully utilized the larger sensor and what they added a new camera feature, which is the cinematic mode, that you can like adjust the focal point of the video. And what all that mean is, I know a lot of people don't know really like what the whole shadow depth of field is and all of that. All people know is that when they take a picture, they can put it in portrait mode and it blurs the background. So to simplify things, cinema mode is really just that. It's portrait mode for video. And I can just tap on the screen, tap on different people and put focus on them and blur out everything else. And I think that's a really cool feature for like people that use their phones for creating content. If you import one of these video files into Final Cut, you can actually go in and change the focus while you're editing, since it's all being done with software. So if I didn't want it to edit, I didn't want it to focus on something in the back, now I want it to focus on something in the foreground, it's a simple click and boom, you can just change your focus just whenever you want to after you recorded the video. So I think that's like the biggest improvement with the iPhone cameras this year, and it falls within the video. With all the improvements they made with the video, they also increased the base storage of the iPhones to 128 gigs. They've been holding on to the storage capacity on iPhones long they hold on to the designs, and those 64 gigs, it just does not cut it anymore. So I'm glad they changed the base storage to 128, and especially with, I believe most people were doing with the iPhone 13 now is recording videos. Those file sizes can get really large, so I think everyone's gonna enjoy having the extra capacity on the iPhone. It seems like every year they put a lot of focus on the rear cameras, and it kind of makes sense because that's one of the most used cameras is the rear cameras. But I do feel like it's arguable that the selfie camera is used much more than the rear cameras, and it seems like it gets no love. It's using the exact same sensor, the exact same everything with the selfie camera. They made the notch smaller, but the camera itself, the camera lens itself, did not change at all. And I think it's about time like Apple just take some time and improve that camera to make it much better, because I see more people taking pictures of themselves than they do of other people. So Apple, just bump the specs up on that selfie camera. So far, I don't have a real problem with the iPhone 13. What I do have a problem with is them choosing not to put a high refresh display on the iPhone 13 and only improving the refresh rate on the iPhone 13 Pro. I understand, you gotta differentiate the two to get people to buy the iPhone 13 Pros, in which my opinion, there is really no reason to buy the iPhone 13 Pro or the Pro Max, but they still could have improved the refresh rate from 60 Hertz to 90 Hertz. They didn't have to do the 120 Hertz and kept that for the Pros, but I think the baseline for a display now should be 90 Hertz. I mean, if you haven't used a 90 Hertz or 120 Hertz display, you probably don't understand why I'm talking about this, but once you've used a high refresh rate display, there's no turning back. There's no going back to 60 Hertz display. And even though iOS is really like smooth and responsive and snappy, with a high refresh display, it will feel 10 times better. So what is my issue with the software? Well, we're on iOS 15. Whole 15 years. Is it 15 years? Well, it's close, but it's iOS 15, just to let you know how it's iterating over the time. And it is still so basic. It's really basic, it's boring, especially now that we have this A15 Bionic processor that we know can do so much. And iOS currently does nothing to take advantage of all of that power. And if you like put the iPhone 13, iPhone 12, iPhone 11 side by side and use all of them, you'll see like there's no performance gains in any one of them. You won't be able to tell like the performance improvement in the brand new phone you just bought compared to the 3-year-old phone you bought. And like I said, this is kind of like a good thing, because like iOS is just not resource intensive and these processors are just so powerful. So it's kind of like a good thing when you're looking at it, but it's also a bad thing because you just realize iOS just has not improved much over the years. And like visually, it's the same from iOS 1 and now. I mean, they did add app draw, which compile like all your apps into one spot instead of like having these multiple pages of filled with apps. And the widgets are really cool. I like the widgets that they added, but I'm still like frustrated that I can't just put apps anywhere on the screen I would like. I kind of like solved that problem using the widgets, put the widgets at the top, and I can put all my apps at the bottom so it'll be easy to press. But these phones, it keeps getting bigger, and with these bigger phones, it's easier to just put your apps at the bottom where it's easily be able to reach. Because you're trying to reach all the way at the top with your finger, it's just not good at all. One thing that bothered me a lot over the years of using the iPhone is the notification system. They've made changes to it over the years, but it's still trash. Like, it's trash. Like, I could press one button and like clear like my notification, but those are like half my notifications. But for some reason, I clear the bottom half, and then the top half, I gotta individually swipe those away, which is annoying. You can't just do like a quick swipe. You can do a quick swipe, it'll just give you some other options, but you gotta do this long out, drawn out swipe to just clear notification. So people might think this is nitpicking, but I just want to press one click and just clear all those notifications away. And then like if I don't look at the notifications tray and I just pick my phone up really quick to like do something on my phone, I can't tell I missed a notification. So I miss a lot of notifications unless I just think to like, hey, look at it. Or if I open my phone up and don't quickly just swipe to the home screen, I would not know that I missed the notification until I just happened to swipe down and look at my notification tray. It's like, oh, I had this notification an hour ago, and wow, I just missed this text message if I don't see like the bubble or whatever. Speaking about pressing one thing to clear something away, you still can't click one button and clear all your open apps. You have to do this 3-finger swipe, 4 or 5-finger swipe to just quickly swipe away and close out all your apps. What's so hard about pressing one button? What's so hard about adding one button to clear all your open apps? Simple. Just one button at the bottom, press, clear all your apps. Every year Apple puts a lot of focus into the camera, and at this point these cameras, like physically, technically, are like really good. But what they don't do is put that same energy into the actual camera app. The camera app is still super basic. It's just so basic. Like, and it's probably makes sense for the majority of their users, because most people just want to pull their camera out, just tap, hit a picture, tap, record, tap, stop, record, and it's probably just good enough for them. But I think that Apple been focusing a lot now on creators, and what creators want are more pro features. And that's, you know, they sell a pro iPhone. They're selling a pro iPhone, but not providing any pro features. And what I mean is, like, let's say we're using this new video system where you can do your focus on, change your focus and all of that stuff. Some people would want to like do more fine-tune adjustments, like changing the aperture, change ISO, and just make these smaller adjustments to get these more creative video out of the iPhone, or even taking pictures. You still want to change your aperture, change your ISO, change your shutter speed, and allows them to do like more creative stuff with this great camera. But they have to go out now and download a third-party app to try to take more advantage of these cameras. And most iPhone users are not going out looking for a third-party app. They probably don't even know a third-party app exists to allow them to do those more creative things with their camera. So I would think it makes more sense for Apple to just build those things in to the native camera app. That's another reason why it makes no sense to buy the Pro, because you're not getting any Pro features, just the Pro in the name. A cool feature that is on iPad OS that I would like to see on iOS is like split screen apps or like pop-up apps. Some might not think those are that usable on an iPhone, but like on my Android phones, I use it a lot of times, especially like picture-in-picture apps where I'm like playing a video and I just go to another app, so I just have that video playing while I'm still doing my browsing or whatever. Or I just have those pop-up apps, like you want to quickly do like a pop-up messaging app or a pop-up like calculator or something like that. Like however they doing it on the iPad OS, it's a great way, and they could bring that to iOS. And I think that could make these, if you want to say get the pro version of the iPhone or whatever, that would be more of like a pro use case for an iPhone. And it's not only iOS that has this huge gap between software and hardware. I also think it's the same thing with iPads, iPad OS, even like iPads have an M1 processor in there now. And iPad OS is just real basic. It does nothing to take advantage of what the M1 can offer. But I'm not gonna keep bashing iOS in this video. I just feel like I just had to get that out of there. But iPhone, great hardware. Just show some love to iOS. And it could be a really incredible phone. Would I recommend iPhone 13? If you're coming from an iPhone 12, I would say no. If you got the money to spend, well, go ahead, spend your money, big baller. You go ahead and jump to the 13 from the 12. But if you're coming from anything else other than the 12, it's a definite yes. It's just a worthy upgrade. It's not a lot of changes from the iPhone 12, but there are some big improvements in the things that matter, like the camera and the battery life. There are some smaller things like the speakers that is very underrated. The speaker to me on the iPhones is the best speakers on any phone. Also the haptics. The haptics are definitely the best of any phone. The vibration motors is just incredible. You can say the cameras are arguably the best in any phone, but that's up for debate. But I would say the video is, there's nothing comparable right now on any other phone. Video is just ahead of everything. Maybe that Pixel 6, where I don't have, but I plan on getting, they might mess around and like match up with iPhone video. When it comes to all the lineup of the iPhone 13, price to value, the iPhone 13 is the best option. I really can't argue a point where it makes sense to go and spend the extra money to get the Pro, because it's just the regular iPhone 13 just hits enough of the check marks that it doesn't make any sense to pay more. But that is it. I'm Joe. This was another Joe Tech Talk. Thanks for watching. Catch me in the next one.